For years, television has played a big part in how the public consume their media, especially in Britain.
From the Sky Satellite Network, this is Sky One.
And until a few years ago, the vast majority of television was consumed in a linear manner. Linear TV survived the rise of Sky, it survived the rise of being able to pause the TV, it survived the rise of catch-up and on-demand TV, but eventually something would arrive that actually proved to be somewhat of a threat to the traditional television industry. That thing is, of course, the streaming service. These things were dwindling along, relatively popular for a few years, but they didn't really pose a significant threat to the linear TV world until
the Prime Minister has announced the most drastic limits to our lives that the UK has ever seen in living memory. The aim, he says, is to save lives in this time of national emergency.
The world was locked down for a year, and as not much new television could be produced on linear TV anymore, the public flocked to streaming services to binge-watch their things. Disney Plus, for example, which wasn't due to launch in the UK until the 12th of April 2020, brought its launch day forward to the 23rd of March 2020.
I just don't know what to do with myself.
The time has now come for us all to do more. From this evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home.
The very day the country went into lockdown. Disney then got rid of the UK feed of its linear channels in September of the same year, which shows that the landscape had moved towards streaming at that point, sadly. For me, as someone who's aiming to get into the field of creating and producing quiz and game shows, this isn't exactly the most encouraging pattern. And since 2020, ratings for practically everything on linear TV have essentially gone down. You know, the streaming takeover is imminent. It's only going to cause several genres to die out further, because not every genre lends itself to streaming's binge-watch landscape. Think about it, quiz shows really wouldn't work on streaming, even though they've tried. They don't realise that you can't binge-watch a quiz show, otherwise it would get very repetitive. There's a channel called Challenge, which is dedicated to showing game shows, but in recent years, the vast majority of their content library has comprised solely of episodes of The Chase, much to the dismay of viewers who want to see other shows. Having a Chase marathon doesn't work, but having a marathon of any quiz show doesn't really work, because it means viewers will become fatigued.
Sorry, boring.
Binging quiz shows doesn't work when they try it on traditional TV, so why on earth would it work on a streaming service? The joy of linear TV is that it can create conversation the next day. So, for example, if, on The Chase, somebody wins...
Now, Cat Stevens had a top 10 hit with What Him in the 1970s?
Morning is broken.
Correct. Time is up! £80,000!
Or even if Bradley Walsh, who hosts it, just has a funny moment where he loses it.
In 2019, a boy in India was found to have how many It's gone. What sort of question is that? A. A. 126. B. 326. No. C. 526.
People could say to their friends, Oh, did you see that win on The Chase last night? Did you see Bradley cracking up on The Chase last night? With streaming's binge-watch nature, everyone will be watching at their own pace.
If you just keep on going at your own pace.
So everyone will be up to a different episode, which means it can't really create that conversation. Streaming's binge-watch culture prevents these shows from generating buzz, because then people will get concerned about spoilers. Without a doubt though, the biggest example of a quiz show that most certainly wouldn't work on a streaming platform is Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. When Millionaire started back in 1998,
Tonight and for the next 10 nights, you'll be watching British quiz show history. For the first time on UK TV, we have a top prize available of £1 million, and it could be won here tonight. No tricks, no traps. Contestants will leave the studio tonight with big cash prizes, and if they have the skill and nerve, someone could leave here a millionaire. Join us now for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
it was a huge event.
You had £32,000. Whatever happens, you leave here with £32,000. Having given me that answer, you've now got 64.
Take the money. Quiz. Just there.
I have to say, I don't blame him at all. This gives me so much pleasure to give you a cheque for £64,000.
Quiz shows used to have caps on how much money they could give away, and those caps also applied to the prizes they could give away.
It's Bully's prize board for you now, boys. Let's see what he's got for you tonight. In one. Mum can sit there and have a good doze and wake up and find she's got sparkling clothes with this automatic washing machine. In four. Here's something that'll bring you down to earth. It's a super set of garden tools. In five. Aye, aye, Skipper. Put it there. In this pine captain's trunk. Our Jim lad. In six. This prize could be a real catch. It's a complete angler's kit. In eight. You'll score 11s out of 10s if you take home with you this coffee maker. And Bully's special prize. You'll economise on everything except fresh air on this super motor scooter.
When those caps were removed in the 90s, Millionaire was the first show to really take advantage of that fact. And what a spectacle it was.
Tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, these 10 seats will be filled by the first 10 people selected to play Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and one of them could win £1 million.
When you look back at that first series, the excitement, the tension, the drama, it truly was an example of magical television. It wouldn't take until 2000 for them to get their first £1 million winner in Judith Keppel.
I'm going to say Henry II.
Final answer.
Yep, final answer.
One of those four is worth £1 million. Three of them would cost Judith Keppel £468,000. Find out what the right answer is in a couple of minutes. After the break. Just before the break, Judith Keppel was asked this question: which king was married to Eleanor of Aquitaine? Henry I, Henry II, Richard I, or Henry V? She had £500,000. She could have walked away with that. She didn't have to play it. She knew if she gave me a wrong answer, she would have lost £468,000. She did decide to play, and she went for Henry II. You've just won £1 million! You are amazing! £1 million!
From Chris Tarrant announcing a break just after Judith said final answer, to the reveal that she'd won £1 million. There was a really palpable adrenaline rush in that studio and a sense of thrill once the million had been won. And as the first £1 million winner, Judith's win created a lot of conversation. If Millionaire aired on a streaming service, however, they'd have to keep the results under wraps until people have had time to binge it. So it wouldn't be able to create that conversation of, oh, did you see Millionaire last night? So it would lose those must-see moments. The Charles Ingram cough scandal is another example of what made Millionaire such gripping TV. A whole investigative documentary about the show was produced, and the whole nation was gripped, knowing that this man, who was a major in the army, had cheated his way to £1 million. In a binge-watch format, this wouldn't create that much conversation. Think about it. Charles's episode was in the 10th series of the show. In a binge-watch format, viewers would have to reach the 10th series before getting to the cough scandal.
I think it's A1. I've just never heard of Craig David, so...
It's up to you. I can't help you, Charles. It's your lifeline gone, but it's worth £32,000. A big old drop if you get it wrong, you lose 15. Who had a hit UK album with Born to Do It, released in 2000? A1 and Craig David.
I think I'll go for A1. I'm going to go for A1. Yep.
Final answer?
No. I mean, I'm 80% of the time I'm wrong when I guess, so... No, I'll go Craig David. Yeah.
Final answer?
I'm going to guess Craig David.
Final answer?
Final answer.
Game shows are especially funny when someone gives a silly answer.
Something a burglar would not want to see when he breaks into a house. Right.
Naked grandma!
Naked, huh?
And the most common game show for this happening is none other than Family Fortunes.
Name something people take with them to the beach.
Turkey.
The first thing you buy in a supermarket.
Turkey.
A food often stuffed.
Turkey.
Yes, really. I interviewed a couple of people to get their thoughts on the current game show landscape. One of the people I interviewed was 15-1 champion George Harold Millman. You were on 15-1 as a contestant. What do you think the appeal of that show is for the audience?
For me, I like straightforward quizzes.
Yeah.
And I like Sandy Toksvig, and I wanted to meet her, and I just really wanted to go on a TV quiz show.
What do you think the key to a successful remake is?
I think there's a perception that remakes tend not to do well. And I don't think that's necessarily true, because I think that if remakes do well, it's quickly forgotten that they're even remakes.
Yeah.
Mastermind is a remake. University Challenge is a remake. The key to a successful remake is there's two possibilities, which is firstly, there might be something in the modern era that will make it work, which wouldn't have worked in the past. The other potential reason is maybe it still has the same appeal as it always had.
Do you think the host is important to the success of a show?
Immensely.
Yeah.
But they aren't indispensable.
Yeah.
I think that you need to have someone that really fits the vibe of the show. Weakest Link was the first quiz show I ever watched. I do know that it was the first show in the UK, first quiz show in the UK to have a permanent female host, not counting co-hosts like Carol Vorderman. I heard Anne Robinson say in an interview once that we broke every single rule: the age of the host, the sex of the host, the looks of the host, and the attitude of the host. And it worked. I suppose in some ways, even though she was a co-host, something like that was the case with Carol Vorderman as well. Like, before her, women on game shows were generally kind of glamorous assistants, and she was chosen mainly for her mathematical ability, which is good.
I interviewed Ryan Vickers, who hosts the Canadian version of University Challenge. He is also a production assistant on Family Feud Canada, which is their version of Family Fortunes, and he was a contestant on Countdown in the UK.
Why do you think people continue to tune into game shows on linear television, even in the age of streaming?
I think it's a situation where, for example, since the day before I was born, Price is Right has always been at 11 o'clock in the morning. So you have that tradition, but ultimately they're there at the same time every day. It's like a comfort food. I also don't think linear TV is going to exist. It probably will go away at one point. I don't know. I don't see game shows and quiz shows going away anytime soon on linear TV unless linear TV itself ceases to exist.
You also worked as a audience production assistant on Family Feud in Canada. Do you think having an audience adds to the feel of the show?
Absolutely. Every day of the week, I think it's better. You win that $1 million, it's great to have everyone else around you.
So there you have it. I've recapped linear TV. I've given my own personal opinion about it as someone who wants to work in the game show landscape. I've interviewed other people about their opinions of what will happen to the game show landscape. And in conclusion, I think that linear TV should always have a place. I don't know necessarily whether it will, but I'd like to imagine so, because, as I said, quiz shows just wouldn't translate on streaming.